Hi, I am P.R. Krishnan. Today we start on a new series on RERA. Welcome to my series RERA from my perspective, a series which is very close to my heart and one where for decades consumers have been at the receiving end. And then the turnaround happens. Yes, it is a real estate sector. As usual, in my first video I will cover the introduction, the background, etc. because this background or introduction will help you understand the act better. And from the second video, of course, we shall start covering the topic, one topic per video. We will cover the sections that affect us most. Each of these sections will be discussed in detail along with their importance, such that at the end of the series you would have had a completely good understanding of the act. You would know your rights and what your empowerments are under the act. So let us now go to the slides. Real estate was one industry that was not regulated by the government and where consumers have been at the receiving end for decades. Many have lost huge amounts of money. Some even lost their lives struggling to get a house. There were many cases languishing in courts for decades. Developers grew big and their might spread, and brazenly they will defy the law. Some vanished, some transferred the project to another developer in connivance and who did not recognize you as a buyer. Some developers would take huge amount of black money initially, and once you give it to them, you are stuck with them. Then further they would ask for big amounts in checks also. Once they get that, they would invest this somewhere, maybe buy another land or another project itself, but your project does not move for years, and other than waiting you have no options. You think twice before going to court, as it takes decades to get a result. Also, your cash payment is not returned. At the end, even in court, you do not know you may win or not win. You are completely helpless. It was like you are caught between the deep sea and the devil. Law existed like MOFA but did not matter at all, as hardly any builders were convicted. Besides, MOFA did not talk of delivery. It was more curative, not adequate to address issues of buyers and developers. Seeing the suffering, the central government felt it necessary to bring about a regulation and enacted the RERA Act. Government had to come to the rescue of the consumers from the clutches of these developers who were fleecing the consumers. So the act came in. It was passed in May 2016 and made effective from 2017. I think everything is coming in the chart. It was initially called the RERA, which is Real Estate Regulatory and Development Authority, and at the state level it came to be known as RERA. Consumers now has a reason to believe he can be a king. He can be a king. Strict regulations came in. Center enacted the act and required the states to provide three basic requirements. One was notify a general rule, because they have enacted the act and they wanted a state to notify general rules. Second, they wanted to establish the authority in the sense court, literally. In a layman's language, I would say court, both a lower court and an appellate. And three, they wanted the state to create a web portal so that to control. As mentioned in the slide, it is certainly a landmark legislation that turned the tables and brought about much required relief to all buyers. This is a central act, but land being a state subject, therefore center cannot intervene in the state subject. Hence, what center did, they created that and asked the states to notify their own rules on the basis of the Model Act. So all states have their own RERA guided by the Model Act. Initially there were a lot of resistance from builders and they did not want to upload any information because too many informations were asked for. And as you know, builders never want to share, or they prefer to keep everything confidential. So they defied. They filed cases because their liberty was getting eroded. They felt they are above law. But Maharera chairman called them. He called all in a meeting and assured them of assistance from government side, but asked them to upload and said it is a compulsion, it's mandatory. and at the same time told them government meant business. And add to that, RERA also fined cyber brokers heavily for not registering but selling. The threat and the action worked, and they started uploading information, and when a few did, the others followed. RERA has now become a reality. RERA has been made applicable to all under construction projects, those that were even under construction at that point of time, except those which are 500 square meters or less, or having 8 members or less as members. And also it excluded SRA and redevelopment projects where there is no sale component. Regulation and development. Government regulation is basically to see how builders should conduct their business, how government will exercise its control. Regulation is framed in such a way that builders have to give a lot of information. There were some 44 to 50 slides of information, and with lots of attachments. Over a period of time, this has further been strengthened, that too under affidavit. That information submitted is true, is an affidavit is given. So they can't bluff and get away. This put builders in a binding. They were forced to give all information on site and update in regular intervals as required under the Act. Builders had no choice but to toe the line for the benefit of the consumers. Any false information or not giving information could lead to heavy penalty, fine and or jail terms. Regulation imposed various periodic returns. It imposed condition on use of money. There was tight control on the use of money, how it can be spent or how it can be used. Even the receipt and even the disbursement by the bank was through an audit system. That we'll learn in great detail at a later video. It regulated the industry with timelines and provided for relief to all buyers. It also imposed few conditions on the buyers. On the development front, government is looking at orderly growth, discipline and proper way of functioning. The idea is not only to win the confidence of the consumers back, but get them to trust the builders, make them feel much more safer so they can invest, and at the same time monitoring the industry functioning, bringing in systematic development of the real estate, and also bring about professionalism to the industry, thus providing for a robust growth. Also, it was to integrate this industry with the economy, bring in reforms and make it easier to obtain required bank loans for the project. Let us go to the next chart. Objective. There are 4 objectives. Object number 1 is ensuring transparency and efficiency in real estate sector by prevailing upon builders to put up all information so nothing is hidden. Even those they were not willing to provide, they were asked to upload, ensuring a clean and complete information in the hands of the consumer. So this was a big win. To regulate and promote the sector by supporting the real estate sector. Real estate was probably the only sector that concerned the masses but wasn't regulated. This anomaly was set right by the government, and a regulator has been established at the state level to control the functioning of the real estate sector. Also, the amount involved was huge, litigations many, and the industry was highly biased towards the developers. Second objective, protecting interests of the consumers through stringent framework specified in the RERA for developers to operate with severe consequences, resulted in confidence gaining of consumers, more rights and compensation to consumers. Okay. Third one, establish a speedy redressal mechanism. So this was one of the hallmark of this act, for which they had initially planned for a closure of any case within 6 months. Initially it was being done very fast, but with the number of cases going up, it got much delayed. Also in terms of warrants and execution at the Tehsildar level, it was getting delayed a lot, and it even went up to 4 years. In April, that's now in April 2022, when this presentation was being started, Chairman RERA had meetings with state government officials and Tehsildar office on quick disposal of warrants and execution. And the fourth objective was to establish appellate tribunals to hear the appeals from decisions. Just a brief on that fund part of it. In the act, it states that escrow account should be opened where 100% of funds to be deposited. Basically, what was thought about was that all builders will open an escrow account with the bank, and bank will monitor that. Everybody's 100% allottee's 100% money will come to the escrow account. From there 30% can be withdrawn for various purposes, be it your salaries, wages, marketing, distribution, advertisement, your maintenance, and even your profit. Okay, so 70% has to be retained in the account. So the first condition was 70% to be retained in the account. Second, out of the 70% you can withdraw only when there is a set of norms and audits are papers are given, and then only you can withdraw to the extent what work is done. Now, this being the brief, I will discuss this in much more detail at a later video, but here the purpose of taking up this is, in some way there was an interpretation saying that even those projects which were started in 2010, 11, 12 or maybe earlier or maybe later, the act came in 2017. Therefore, all those projects from 2017 and those even before 5 years, 10 years earlier, they are all collected a large amount of money. Okay. Now, against that hardly any work has been done. Therefore, the objective was to bring back those funds back to the escrow account and bring back the entire amount. Let's say theoretically take 30%, so 70% remains, and out of 70% whatever work whoever has done, to that extent that money can be withdrawn and the balance should remain. That was the purpose. While all the state agreed and did that, Maharashtra differed a little, and what they did, they started getting this 70% condition post RERA, that is prospectively. So what they did, what they said is, any amount coming to the escrow account post May 2017, 30% can be withdrawn for all this salaries, wages, marketing, advertisements, sales, and everything else, and their profit, and 70% to be retained. 70% can, out of the 70%, whenever they get the certificate, the bank gets the certificate and they verify the certificate, only then bank will release proportionately to that extent. Friends, with this we will close the introductory background and why RERA came. As we go along, we will see how it impacts our life positively. In the next video, I shall be discussing about the government endeavors and importantly features of the landmark legislation. Hope you get to know the difference between what it was and what it is now. I am sure you will get to know as you watch it very closely in the next video. So it's very interesting, very important. See how different it is now. So please do not forget to subscribe this video if you have liked this, and leave a comment, and look forward to seeing you again in the next video. You may also ask your friends to go through the videos because it is very helpful. They will also get a knowledge on that. So till we see in the next video, thank you so much.